Hello YouTube, making this video about my experiences since the year 2015 pertaining to WPW syndrome and mental health issues that won't go away. So the first thing I'd like to say is 2015 was when everything started, and it kicked off with a bang because I went on vacation with my nephew, and I had a great time. But coming back home, I did notice some things had changed, and it wasn't because of the vacation, but I started noticing I had some events and some episodes pertaining to my heart. And so I went into the ER. I know a lot of people do that because they panic or they have anxiety about it. But I went into the ER, and I noticed it was because my heart started beating very rapidly for no reason at all. And I wasn't working out at the time, but prior to 2015 I had worked out a lot, and I was, in pretty good shape. So I went to the ER, and they told me I had anxiety, and they tried to prescribe me an antidepressant. So that was around March of 2015. And so I used meditation and yoga to cope with the fact that I was going through something I had no idea would end up being WPW syndrome, or Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. So in the summer of 2015, I had spent the night in a hospital because of one of these episodes, and they decided to keep me for observation. And it was there that night that they had also found out that I had a case of bradycardia when I was sleeping. I remember that night they woke me up, and when I was finally getting some rest, because nobody really sleeps in the ER, but they kept me overnight, and I had finally fallen asleep, and the nurse came in and she woke me up, and she said, how are you feeling? Are you doing okay? And I said, I'm fine. She said, your heart is real low. Do you exercise? And I said, yeah, I exercise. So we kind of just shrugged it to the side or whatnot. So that overnight stay in the hospital, summer of 2015, I met a cardiologist who worked at that hospital, and he diagnosed me with anxiety and gave me Lexapro. So I had started a Lexapro regimen. So going into the fall of 2015, I had met with that cardiologist from that hospital, and he had pretty much told me to go see an electrophysiologist. And he said nothing was wrong with me. Both of those doctors said that nothing was happening bad with me. This guy, if you can hear him, he's running everywhere. But they said that nothing was wrong with me, and that it was most likely anxiety, and that I was too young to have any major problems. So there was the, kind of the feeling that I know something's wrong, but also the feeling that, these are doctors and they know what they're doing. So I didn't really, I kind of went home that day, I think, feeling better. But I found a GP. I had gotten health insurance prior to all this in 2015. And I found a general practitioner in my area, and he sent me to a different cardiologist. And I met with that cardiologist, and that cardiologist sent me to a different electrophysiologist. God, so many doctors. There's already 4 doctors. So I went and saw this electrophysiologist, and he pretty much looked at my ECG or my EKG, whatever you want to call it. And from there, he pretty much told me what he felt like was going on, and it was apparent in my EKGs ever since the beginning that there was something wrong with it. Or not wrong, but there was something different from a normal EKG. One was that I was suffering, or not suffering, but I had shown, not symptoms, but I had shown on the EKG a right bundle branch block. And I don't really know what these things are, but they tried to explain them to me. And so that electrophysiologist saw that I had that right bundle branch block. And from there, he said, I think I know what's going on. You might have a case of WPW syndrome. Wolff Parkinson White syndrome, and I was just like, whoa, I don't even know what that is, you know. But eventually he said we can do some kind of EP study or something like that, like some kind of study where they put a catheter in through your groin and they put it in your heart through a major artery, and they pretty much find out, you know, what's causing you to have those arrhythmias and whatnot. And so I said okay, and that was the end of 2015, and so here comes 2016, and from there I pretty much followed up with my doctor, and it was in February, I remember, close to Valentine's Day actually, that my doctor had told me, you know, are you ready for this procedure? Everything's going to be fine. I know what I'm doing. And I went under, and during the procedure, I remember this, as he woke me up in the middle of my procedure, and he told me, hey, we found it. Do you give us the go-ahead to do this, to burn it with microwaves or whatever? And I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I didn't really know what to do at the time. God, this cat. Anyways, he tells me that I'm having an accessory pathway or something like that. I have no idea what these things even mean, but you kind of learn quickly, especially when it has something to do with one of your major organs, my heart. But he told me that I had Wolff Parkinson White syndrome, and coming out of that procedure, which was a catheter ablation, he told me everything looks fine and you should be feeling better. So 2016, post-procedure, I did started noticing that I was feeling better. And somewhere around that time also, when I found that new cardiologist, they had put me on Zoloft. I switched from Lexapro. I was taking Lexapro in 2015 for anxiety, dealing with those kind of pressures. And so in 2016, I had already started a regimen on Zoloft for just anxiety about having heart problems and whatnot, or not really a problem, but kind of a phenomenon, which was something like my doctor said. Ow, ow. But so my doctor fixed it, and after that procedure, I started noticing every day I started getting better, and I stopped having those arrhythmias. I might have little arrhythmias now in 2017, but nothing near what I was experiencing then. Actually, I can't even recall a time before, after that procedure that I've, you know, had arrhythmias. But one thing that I could say was negative out of the whole experience was the anxiety medicine they put me on, or the antidepressant medication they put me on, because that medication made me different. Especially because I started smoking weed, and you shouldn't smoke or do drugs when you have some kind of arrhythmia problem. So I quit that 2017 smoking weed because it kind of messed up my Zoloft regimen. And so now we're in May of 2017. I really don't have any arrhythmias anymore. No symptoms of WPW syndrome, but I do still have some bradycardia symptoms. My heartbeat beats lower than 40 beats per minute when I'm sleeping, but it's nothing that the doctors say I should worry about right now. I'm going to schedule myself another sleep study. I took one in 2015, I think, and then I skipped 2016. I'm going to take a sleep study this year, just to double check. I got health insurance, and so I'm just going to go and do that. But one thing I want to bring up right now is that I am on fluoxetine coming off of Zoloft because I had abused marijuana, and taking it with Zoloft threw me off. I don't know how other people can do it, but I was doing pretty good large amounts, very potent marijuana dabs and whatnot, so I was kind of playing with fire because it was throwing off my Zoloft regimen, maybe my serotonin levels. I really don't know about that stuff, but so I'm coming off of weed for the last 3 weeks, and I'm coming off of Zoloft, and I'm trying a new medication called fluoxetine, and we'll see how it goes from there, and I'll update y'all people as it goes. Thanks.